Now, if you have a kid that is in the 5 boroughs, public school, private school, Catholic school, and no sports being allowed to play. Why is that? Why is that being allowed? Where the voice is trying to let the mayor of the city know that it makes no sense. So we thought we would get to the bottom of it. And joining us on the hotline right now are 2 gentlemen that are intimately involved, Ray Nash and Dom Vulpis, Executive Director of the Catholic High School Sports Athletic Association. And guys, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for giving us an avenue to let people know what's going on.
So, Ray, I'll start with you. I know what I said is accurate, but give people a little background as to what the mayor's office is telling you folks as to why your kids are not allowed to play sports right now.
Well, the problem is we're not getting any answers. The city elected not to have any sports for the fall. Our principals, our executives decided that we wanted to make the situation for our kids the best possible. Our schools have been in school the whole time. We haven't shut down much like the city has. Mm-hmm. And we conducted our soccer season, our cross-country season, all of it without any problems, whatever, with COVID. Dom can explain a little what we have done in relation to try to get to the mayor's office. Don, you want to give him an update?
Well, before you do that, so you guys were able to do some sports like soccer, et cetera, and then all of a sudden you got shut down. Was there an order or an edict from the mayor's office saying you can't play?
We never got shut down. What it was is there's certain sports that were allowed to start to play, which we call a low and moderate risk sports.
Right.
So we played all of them, soccer including in that.
Okay.
And that was in our fall season.
Right.
Now you had the high risk sports such as basketball, ice hockey, football, boys lacrosse, boys and girls volleyball, and wrestling. And they were listed as high risk where we weren't able to play.
Okay.
And then what happened was the governor said, okay, on February the 1st, he would turn it over to the local authorities that we could play those high-risk sports. And that's when students and athletes from Nassau, Suffolk, and Westchester all got their okays from their local Department of Health, and we did not from the city of New York.
Have they given a reason why they haven't given an okay? Since there have been okays all around this area, like you said, Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, have they given you a stat or a reason why they haven't approved it?
Not at all, and that's the most frustrating part of it. The only thing they say is we're not ready for a decision at this time.
So there are 62 counties in New York State, and the only one that hasn't given an okay is New York City.
Are they even considering it, or are they just giving you the lip? Oh, we're not there yet. Like, is they even talking about it or debating it?
Another frustrating part of your question is that you can't talk to a human being in those organizations. Everything is done through an email, and it's done through a receipt saying we received your email. Or the most, they'll tell you is that we're not ready to make a decision on this.
So this is what I don't get.
The phone number goes right to voicemail. Voicemail says, "It's too many phone calls at this week. We're not taking any more."
And that's what department? The health department?
Sure, that is the City Council Health Committee, and that's Mr. Mark Levine's office that I've been trying to call since last week, and that we have given out, all of our what we called our emergency hearing. So we're entitled to an emergency hearing from New York City Health Committee, and we've been asking to convene that committee for the health and safety of our children in New York City, and they won't respond.
It's interesting. I was reading a missive from former Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey, and I know they're different states, but the same principle, that all the studies that have come back have said our kids are at no greater risk, either A, physically being in school, or B, participating in these particular sports. What's frustrating to me is that, and I'm not saying this to blow smoke up either one of your butts, you guys have done this for a while. You're well connected, I would think, amongst city departments, and you guys can't reach anybody. How's that possible?
That's the frustrating part. And the other part is the emotional aspect it's having upon these kids. We have situations where neighbors can play and our kids can't.
Right.
A kid who lives on the borderline up in Westchester goes to Mount St. Michael, he can't play, but somebody who lives there and goes to school at Stepanak can play. Same thing happens out in Long Island, where a kid may go to St. Francis Prep or Holy Cross
Right.
and can't play, yet their neighbor can because they go to a Nassau school.
Now, I just want to be clear. This applies to all schools in the 5 boroughs, not just your member schools.
The thing that's mind-boggling to me, and I guess we could disagree about what stat they use, is they're not giving you a reason. They're not saying, look, we need the infection rate to get here, and then we're comfortable. And we could debate that all day, but it sounds like there's no answer at all, and that's got to be the most frustrating part. They're not even giving you a reason.
You know, guys, that is the most frustrating part.
The question that we are asked more than anything is, are they discriminating against Catholic schools, which I don't think they are. But as Dom said, the most frustrating part is not being able to get an answer.
And the other thing is we're trying to teach, you know, every day. You saw what happened this past year during the pandemic, and we had kids out there, you know, protesting. What we're trying to teach our students here is that there's a process to everything. And the process here is that you do this in the means that are set up. So we're going through all the agencies, everything we're told to do, and we're showing them that we are at their defense. But now we're getting nothing back, and it's very frustrating to teach students, you know, who are going to be our next generation of New York City residents. You know, they are residents now. The next generation of people who are running the show is that we're getting nothing, and that's very frustrating.
How many Catholic high schools are there in the 5 boroughs?
In the 5 boroughs itself, gee whiz, well, we have Archdiocese, and then we have the Brooklyn Queens Diocese. So within the 3 of them, the school-wide, we have to be in the 60s, right, Ray?
Yes, it's 57.
57. Wow. So you're talking I'm just trying to get like a kid count in my head. You're talking about, you know, hundreds, maybe low thousands of kids, right?
Definitely. That's the problem. And you know what? And it hurts the minority kids more. I mean, they can't play, so what are they going to do? They can't afford to go 2 weeks to Florida for camp. They're stuck here, so they're going to look to go to AAU or something else. There's no guidance in AAU to make sure they have what we're doing to protect our kids.
Right. That's specific to basketball. I understand what you're saying there.
Are there some low-risk sports that are being able to play? You mentioned soccer happened in the fall. Are there any sports going on now or for the spring, maybe baseball, that will be played because they aren't considered high risk?
Yes. So, for instance, we took winter track and we went outdoors this winter.
Wow.
Okay, so the snow hit. We were running, you know, meets outdoors. Bowling, we continued going through.
Okay.
We continued our cross-country season. We did our soccer season, like I said before. In the spring, we're anticipating our baseball, softball, golf, and tennis. They're all what we call low and moderate risk sports. It's those high-risk sports that are in jeopardy of never playing.
Let me ask you a silly question. What happens if you said, F it, we're playing?
You get an answer.
I just wonder, would
contact with a human.
Like, could you imagine the city sending, you know, marshals to the field and locking you out? Like, what would they do?
We have. Well, don't forget, many of our schools use New York City playgrounds and parks, so permit process has been shut down at this point in time for those sports.
Right.
So that's number one. That's an obstacle there. The other challenge is that we did present this to our lawyers. We have a team of lawyers from the diocese that we've been working through right now. And I said, let me be so bold and ask that question you just asked.
Yeah.
And the reality is that we are very responsible. And the fact is that if one student, got hurt by COVID, you know, God forbid somebody died out there. We can't live with that, conscionable. So,
the other question, Chris. The other question is that I get asked every day is if the PSAL had teams that were participating right now, do you think you'd get an answer immediately? And yes, we would. So it looks like the Catholics are the ones that are being. PSAL is not sponsoring sports right now. They have elected not to sponsor them. Whether or not they come back in the spring, we're ready to go with all sports.
Right.
And we've done that since the first day. So instead of being rewarded because we've done a spectacular job, we're being penalized because we don't have a voice and we can't get an answer.
Right. Well, they're going to tell you that none of the schools are playing, so we're not picking on the Catholic schools. Non-denominational private schools aren't playing. Public schools aren't playing these sports. So you'll lose that battle for sure, though I appreciate the sensitivity to it.
They elected not to play.
No, I hear you, but I think that to me, that's probably a losing fight.
Right,
So here's the obvious question. Is this nothing more than just a financial play that, you know, they've saved millions of dollars by not having these sports and paying referees and field costs and all that stuff? And rather than dedicate whatever amount of money it would take to greenlight sports coming back, they're just choosing not to save the money.
That's a very big possibility. That's definitely
a great question, and that's a great question to ask our mayor, because he's the only one that can answer that.
So has anyone heard from the mayor? Has he said anything, even like a generalized blanket statement about it?
Nope. The only thing you get back from his office is a receipt number that they received my email.
That's the
It's like going to a bakery.
Dude, the biggest problem here is they have to give a reason. Whether we like it or not, there has to at least be, this is why we're doing it. To get no answer at all besides an email receipt is the biggest problem here.
Well, no, the biggest problem is that Westchester County is letting him play. Nassau County's letting him play.
But the local government here isn't
Suffolk
even saying
County's
why.
letting him play.
Look, there's probably
New Jersey's letting him play.
Even the why may not be something I accept, or you guys accept, or any of us accept. But right now, you're talking to machines. You're not even talking to a human being about why New York City kids can't play sports. There's got to be a freaking reason for it. And hopefully this mayor gets off as you-know-what and at least talks to you guys about it so this thing can be solved and at least there can be a discussion about it.
We have followed every rule that the city has set up. That's why our schools have been so successful in opening and staying open and making sure that they're educating our kids. For a ton of kids, athletics are more important than anything.
Sure, I get it. I understand, yeah.
Their emotional stability at this point is just out the window.
No, people don't recognize sports as such, for the kids that play, because not every kid does, but it is such an amazing outlet emotionally. Everything. It's like I'm such a proponent of it. For just background and full transparency, I started the Borough Cup, which is the largest baseball tournament in the country, where every borough, unfortunately, other than Manhattan, because they don't have enough baseball teams, has been represented. We've had 10,000 kids, majority of those kids, inner city kids, who have participated in the Borough Cup. And, we hear the same thing. Yeah. Everywhere else you go, sports is back, sports is being played.
Right.
Except for right here in the city, that, by the way, has more kids than any other place.
Yep, absolutely.
So
and don't forget, our parents are paying for school.
Right.
And they're saving the city millions of dollars, and now they're being penalized because they've decided to keep their kids in a Catholic school. They're entitled to this, at least, as you said, to give us a reason why they're not.
So what does Mark Levine, the City Council Health Committee Chairman, do all day? I mean, he's got to be in public. He's got to have meetings. He's got to be reachable. Like, can't somebody wait at his office or something?
Yeah, well, that's the problem with COVID now. You can't get into these offices. They're all shut down at this point in time. We've even invited a Zoom. We'll gladly Zoom with you, And we've got no response.
And they're just avoiding you like you got, legitimately you had the plague or something. They don't want to give you the time of day.
Absolutely.
And you're not asking for money. You're asking for a stamp on a piece of paper.
Let them play. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. They don't have to do anything. Just approve it. That's it.
I would love it if, listen, us talking about it calls attention to it. So maybe that gets somebody to get off their ass and pick up the phone. It also shows you the problem with bureaucracy in this town. I'm sure a lot of towns are similar. I'm not just going to pick on New York. Like, if you're the president of the Catholic High School Athletic Association and you can't reach the City Council Health Committee Chairman, that's a fundamental problem. No,
and that's
of course.
And that's the frustration. And it's the frustration of our parents.
By the way, guys, there's an agency that's set up totally just for high schools, private high schools, to reach into the Department of Health. I've gone that route at the graciousness of the PSAL, who shared the number with me. And there's a Dr. Lawrence there, Dr. Cheryl Lawrence, who has been terrific. She's absolutely terrific.
Okay.
And she passed it along to the private school Department of Health person, who has given me one email back saying, we're not ready to make the decision at this time.
Not ready to make
but here's
the
the other
decision.
thing. Your kids are physically in school. They're not virtual, right?
No.
Right.
No, some are virtual. Some will let you go virtual.
Right. It's their choice, but schools are open. Teachers are teaching. Kids are physically in classes.
Since day
Coaches are
one.
coaching. They're ready.
Since day one. And
So,
coaches are ready to go.
To me, it's okay if you, I know they don't want to, but if you're going to separate private, public, Catholic schools for the purposes of letting the Catholic School Association make a determination for what's best for their thousands of students, well, I don't see why that's a problem.
I agree, especially that we're following the protocol.
Yeah.
We're not going rogue here. We have we're a member of the National Federation of High Schools, which is a member of the New York State Public High School Athletic Association. So that membership gives us entitlement to all of the protocols that are being used, all right, within the state with all the public schools. We have the same exact protocols, no different.
I'll do you
And
one
we
better.
ran off-
And I know it's from experience because I've lived it. So,
Yeah.
when I lived in the city with my kids, my son who plays football, for example, his school didn't offer football. Now, right now, that school's got no sports because it's in the 5 boroughs. It's in Manhattan.
Right.
My son played for the New York City Lions, and prior to that, he played for the Downtown Giants. Those are private organizations. They're playing football.
Yeah.
Right? So the kid's physically in school and he's physically playing football on the same exact fields that you want your kids playing football on, or, competitive cheerleading or lacrosse or et cetera, et cetera. So it makes no sense.
Nope.
And as Dom said, at least give us a reason. And if there's something we can correct, we'd be the first ones to shut down sports.
Well, there's no
If, in
reason
fact,
because, like you said,
There-
there are private leagues that let these kids play. Dave Brown's AAU basketball league is up and running. They got no problems.
But why can't this? Why does the city not control that, but they would control Catholic high schools? Like, why can they say we're not stepping in
I
to
don't
not
know.
let you play on the fields of New York City, but here they do? That seems like a contradiction.
Yeah,
to
why
me.
are they allowed to do that?
Well, all these questions are the questions we get from parents every single day, and we can't answer them. It looks like we're not doing anything, and in essence, we are doing something every single day. Dom has been working with the principals every single day to try to get our kids back into competition. As you say, it's embarrassing. Long Island has it. Westchester.
Yeah,
Everybody has
It's
it.
not just that, and I think maybe one of you guys can speak to this. I think it's important to say it, and I'll say it as a parent. I have 4 kids, and my kids all played sports and all participated in extracurricular sporting, whether it was girls soccer, basketball, you name it. They played every season. Okay, and I can tell you as a dad, forget about anything else, take all the politics and all the other stuff out of it. The importance that sports played in my kids' emotional development. And we're not paying lip service to the fact that kids that are now denied the opportunity to go run, to play hockey, for the girls to competitive cheerlead or play volleyball, soccer, for the boys to play basketball, etc. It's a life-changing experience for the better when they have those outlets. They're hurting the development of the kids they're claiming to want to protect.
Absolutely.
Couldn't have said any better.
You just
Said
said
it all.
exactly what we've all been saying in Catholic education for the last month. So this has been spectacular, and you're putting it in those words is absolutely perfect.
The only thing I could think of that would put pressure on them would be getting the professional teams behind this as well. Getting the Knicks, the Yankees, the Mets, the Rangers.
Well, it'll call attention
the
to it
Nets.
and force the mayor to actually have to answer a question.
You're getting,
about it.
getting certain players involved saying, hey, wait a minute. We want our kids to have the very best, and they have opportunities. It's about opportunity, and we're denying them the opportunity. I think that might help out as well.
Yeah,
Thank you
well,
for that suggestion. That's a great suggestion at that point. The other
there's
thing
one
we
other-
just
one
created
other-
today, just let me finish one thing.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Dom, go ahead.
Is that today we just created a change.org petition.
Yeah.
And within the first hour, we had 250 people on it. And I bet you by tomorrow we have thousands on it.
Yeah, I imagine you
And
do.
it's a matter of reaching that. And that's real live data. These are real people. Everyone back with an email address that goes out there. So your idea, coupling with that idea, may give enough for our, we are pending lawsuit at this point in time. I had a meeting this morning with the Principals Association, and we did speak the fact of a lawsuit. Even though we don't like going that direction,
Right.
because the time a lawsuit is settled, the season is over, and we haven't gotten anything for our kids, we much rather come to peace with somebody, and man to man, look at them in the eye and say, this is what we're offering, what are you offering, what can we do here? So what you just said gives us another avenue, and I'll start that tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the teams will be very receptive to it, and they obviously are very well connected politically. But who knows? I mean, you guys, I would imagine, are connected politically as well, and you're not getting any answers, which fascinates me. But
And don't forget, it's our girls as well as our boys.
yeah, I want to make that's very
this,
clear.
Yeah, this runs the gamut. I mean,
Yeah.
and emotionally, every kid. We had a Zoom last week, as Don mentioned. We had 2 students on who were spectacular, and they address the emotional aspect of what do they do with their time and what do their friends do.
Well, let's
They've been
find
brought
out
up-
what Mark Levine does for a living, the City Council Health Committee Chairman, because he's not being responsive, and someone should get to Mayor de Blasio as well. And it's like the old movie, Let Them Play.
Let them play.
Let them play. Do you remember the movie, Evan?
I do. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's
What was the
bad,
movie?
bad news
Yeah,
bears.
Bad News
Come on,
Bears.
man. You know that. But the worst part is, like, the time that these kids have disappears. Like, you're only 15 years old once.
Yeah.
You're only 16 years old once. It's not like, oh, don't worry. We'll push you back. We'll have a season next year. Great.
Yep.
Some kids
No,
aren't they're going to graduate or they're going to be a year older. That's what
You
sucks
just
about
said
the whole
you
thing.
said it perfectly because the
Yeah.
NCAA pushes their season back. You know, they give everybody an opportunity
Right.
to play, but you only get 4 years in high school to play 4 years. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
So we have no other recourses here.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Dom Vulpis, who's the executive director of the Catholic High School Athletic Association, and Ray Nash, who's been working, how old are you guys, 40 years, 80 years combined doing this? How long has this been your life's pursuit, guys?
Closer to 50. He's not that old. I'm old.